I booted up Genshin because I wanted to relax. I wanted to click buttons, collect shiny things, maybe dissociate a little. Instead, I'm staring at the screen like, oh, okay, I guess we're talking about mortality now. Here are 5 life lessons from Columbina, the Damsellette herself. Lesson 1. The lullaby mindset. Columbina doesn't grieve the typical way that we're taught to grieve. When people die around her, or when she faces the possibility of her own death, she doesn't scream, she doesn't beg, she doesn't bargain with the universe like, please, 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 just this once. Because when Columbina is associated with death or endings, or things quietly slipping away, it's never framed as this violent chaos. It's framed like a lullaby. Like something inevitable, but not cruel. Like a closing of the eyes rather than a door being slammed shut. And that's a very strange way to look at loss, because most of us treat grief like an emergency. Like the feeling itself is a problem that needs to be fixed as fast as possible. But Columbina's mindset is a lot more like, this was always going to end, so just breathe through it anyway. And the thing is, it's not just about death. We grieve things constantly that don't come with funerals. You grieve the version of your life where you chose that other option. Like when you pick a major in university, and no one tells you that what you're really doing is quietly burying 5 other lives you could have lived instead. There's the version of you that went into art, the version of you who moved abroad, the version who stayed home, and you don't get closure for any of them. You just have to move on, pretending you didn't even notice. Or when your body betrays you in a small, mundane way that still changes everything. Like when you wake up one day and realize, oh, the sport that you loved and maybe secretly hoped you could play professionally is never going to happen. Not for any fault of your own, just simply your circumstances or your height, and it just didn't add up. There's no ceremony for that loss. You still have to go to class, you still have to answer texts like everything is normal, but something real ended. Or realizing that you're 19 now, and childhood didn't end with fireworks or a final moment. It just quietly expired while you were busy surviving it. That grief is weird because you feel kind of silly for it. You're like, sure, nothing bad happened, but it still feels like something precious slipped through your fingers. And Columbina's life lesson here isn't don't feel sad, it's don't panic inside the sadness. A lullaby doesn't stop the night from coming, it just teaches you how to breathe while it does. Grief doesn't mean you're broken. It means that you noticed that something mattered. And instead of fighting the truth, Columbina's mindset is to soften around it. To let the wave pass through you instead of trying to outrun it. Not get over it, not be positive, just stay. Stay present, stay breathing. Because endings don't mean the universe is being cruel. Sometimes they're just transitions that hurt because you cared. And if you let grief sing like a lullaby instead of scream, it won't consume you. It rocks you, it holds you, and eventually, quietly, it will let you go. Lesson number 2. Finding home in strange places. Columbina exists in a world that is not exactly kind to her. She was avoiding the Fatui, the Frostmoon Scions, Rurir, Dottore, and nothing about her environment was particularly safe, or warm, or stable. And yet, she still moves through it like someone who isn't constantly searching for a place to land, like she's already made peace with the fact that home might not look like an actual location that you can return to. And that hit me specifically a lot harder than I expected, because I think a lot of us grow up assuming that home is a place, a building, an address, somewhere you can point to on a map and say, right there, that's where I belong. But then you move. Or life moves you. And then suddenly you're in this limbo, where your childhood home doesn't feel like home anymore, but your new place doesn't feel right either. And you're just sort of floating between them, carrying your stuff in boxes and pretending you're fine. That's been me ever since moving away to college. My dorm doesn't feel like home. It's fine, it's functional, but it's not comfortable the way a childhood home used to be. And now, when I go back to my childhood house, that doesn't feel right either. Because I'm not the person who lived there anymore. So for a while, it just felt like I didn't have a home. And Columbina reframes this entirely. Because what if home wasn't a place at all? What if it's a state? I started noticing how home shows up in really small, almost embarrassing ways. Like the muscle memory of opening up my laptop and hearing the soft little hum of the fan, no matter where I am. Or the exact shade of orange the sky turns right before sunset, where it doesn't matter what city you're in, it still feels familiar. And sometimes it's even dumber than that. Like a cloud that looks so ridiculously real and three-dimensional that it snaps you out of your own head and reminds you, oh yeah, I live here, on Earth, with air and weather and gravity. One of the biggest for me is running in the morning. No matter where I am, new city, new schedule, new stress, cool air in my lungs feels the same everywhere. The rhythm of breath and movement doesn't change just because my address did. Locations may shift, but the feeling doesn't. And that's what Columbina's quiet existence suggests. Home is often something you carry, not something that you can always return to. It's found in sensations, in routines, in moments that ground you back into being human. So if you're in that in-between stage where nothing feels quite right yet, that doesn't mean you're lost. It just means that your sense of home is getting more precise. Lesson 3. The burden of untapped potential. Columbina is often framed as someone who could be more. Stronger, higher, ascended. Like she's always one step away from becoming something even greater, and everyone around her seems very aware of that. And that pressure, that feeling, I think a lot of us live there. Because at some point in your life, someone tells you, you have so much potential. And it sounds like a compliment, but it really doesn't feel like one. It feels like a warning. Like you're not there yet, and that's a problem. Like you're wasting something precious by not trying harder. If you just got off your phone more, or if you stopped watching YouTube videos or scrolling on Reels, if you just applied yourself, maybe finished that job application, if you studied just a little harder or just worked a little longer, there's always this quiet voice in your head that's always saying, you could be doing more. And the problem is, when you live like that, it's really easy to forget and notice what you've already done. You forget how far you've come because you're too busy staring at the version of yourself that you're not yet. And yeah, maybe there is more you could do. That is probably true. But there's also something you could be doing less of. You could be caring less, trying less, surviving less. In some parallel universe, there's a version of you beating yourself up for not doing it. And I guarantee you, that version of yourself is wishing they had your stability, or your resilience, or your clarity. But they don't get to see that. And neither do you. Columbina's stillness feels like a reminder that becoming isn't the same as being incomplete. You are not a failure in progress. You are not behind because you're not constantly optimizing yourself. Potential doesn't just evaporate because you rested. It doesn't die because you took your time. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is acknowledge that you're already doing something incredibly difficult. Being alive, being aware, and trying at all. Give yourself more credit than the voice in your head wants to. You deserve it. Lesson number 4. Learning to be part of a family. And this does not have to be a family in the literal sense. It can be anything that feels uncomfortable with being part of at first. Columbina doesn't start out knowing how to belong. She exists mostly alone, mostly self-contained, untouchable. And when she does exist near others, there's the sense that she doesn't quite know what the rules are, especially the unspoken ones. Like the idea that someone can correct you and still care about you. That being scolded doesn't automatically mean rejection. And I think that's something a lot of us have to learn usually later than everyone else. Because if you grew up independent, really independent, you didn't learn how to lean on people. If something went wrong, there wasn't anyone to go to. So you stopped asking. You didn't even consciously decide to stop, you just adapted. You learned how to solve things quietly, how to carry things yourself, how to not need anything from anyone. And that works great until it doesn't. Because eventually you try to be a part of a group, or a friendship, a hobby, or even a chosen family. And suddenly there are moments where someone says, hey, that hurt, or hey, you can't do that, or hey, you kind of messed up here. And it feels catastrophic. Not because the criticism is overly cruel, but because you never learned how to exist inside connection, only working outside of it. So correction feels like danger. Discomfort often feels like failure. Awkwardness feels like the universe giving you proof that you don't belong here. But Columbina's arc subtly suggests something else. that being corrected is a part of being included. That friction is not rejection, it's simply a part of the process. You wouldn't get scolded if you didn't matter. Letting yourself exist inside a community means letting yourself be seen while still being unfinished, while imperfect, while still learning. It means accepting that connection is really messy, and sometimes embarrassing, and other times really uncomfortable. But it's also how you stop being alone. Lesson number 5. The danger of emotional detachment. Columbina survives by stillness, by distance, by not reacting, and there's a reason why that works. Detachment is an incredible survival mechanism. It keeps you functional in chaos. It keeps you composed under pressure. But it also costs you something. Because when you seal yourself off to avoid any pain, you don't just block out the bad stuff. You mute everything. And most of us do this constantly without even realizing it. Scrolling on your phone while walking past strangers? Not because you care about what's on your phone, but because eye contact feels like way too much right now. Putting on another YouTube video, not because you're interested, but because silence would mean your thoughts catch up to you. Filling every single gap with noise so you don't have to feel what's underneath. It's not laziness, it's just avoidance. And sometimes it is necessary, but it's sometimes the reason why you miss things that really could have mattered. Because let's just imagine you didn't scroll. Imagine you notice a shirt of the person walking by you. It's from your favorite TV show or a band you really love. You look at it a little too long. They notice, you laugh, you say something dumb. And that is how you met your best friend. Or imagine you don't autoplay the next video. You let your thoughts wander for once. And in that quiet, semi-uncomfortable space, your brain finally connects the dots on a problem that you've been stuck on for weeks now, or maybe even months. Your breakthrough didn't need more input. It just needed some space. Detachment keeps us safe, but it also keeps us small. Columbina's stillness isn't framed as something evil, it's just something framed as incomplete. And I think that's the point. Life doesn't only happen in control. It happens in noticing, in feeling, in letting moments touch you even when it's easier for them not to. You don't have to feel everything all the time. But if you never let yourself feel anything, you might have missed the moments that could have changed something really important to you. What's strange is that none of Columbina's lessons are things she ever verbally tells us. None of this is expressed through explicit dialogue. It's something that you just notice, not something that you're shown. And it's done in such a way where you don't have to be told. She just exists, calmly, unsettling, gentle in a way that feels almost dangerous. And maybe that's another reason why the lessons feel so impactful. Because every single one of them is about some form of restraint. Letting grief move through you instead of trying to fight it. Letting home be something small and temporary, but still real. Letting yourself be imperfect instead of constantly chasing the person that you could be. Letting people correct you without assuming you're about to leave. And letting yourself feel, even when detachment would be a whole lot easier. And somehow, a moon-coated Fatui Harbinger managed to sneak 5 life lessons into a gacha game I downloaded to relax. Which feels kind of unfair, but also kind of cool. So if some of these points hit a little too close to home, if one of the lessons felt uncomfortably specific, that's okay. You're allowed to sit with it. You're allowed to not fix it immediately. You're allowed to be unfinished. And if nothing else, maybe take this one thing with you. You don't need to have it all figured out. Sometimes you simply being here to hear it is more than enough. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, evening, night, or whatever time it is for you. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.